we're here today with Stephen Crystal. He's the head of Betfred Sports USA Development and the founder of SCCG Management. He's also a former Las Vegas casino owner, and he invests, advises, consults, and represents gaming clients worldwide in casino development, interactive gaming, and gaming technology endeavors. That's according to his LinkedIn profile. Well, thank you very much for having us today. And maybe we can start by having your own insights regarding the impact COVID pandemic is having on the online gaming and gambling industry globally, and especially in your business area in particular.
Excellent. Yeah, nice to be with you. What's different about the United States from the rest of the world is that for the most part, the United States has been a brick and mortar casino culture. And only for the last really 20 years have we seen the proliferation of casinos, mostly through Native American casinos and throughout the United States. And so in the rest of the world, where there has been a focus on online gaming, online sports, mobile sports, online casino, the impact from COVID-19 hasn't been as severe as it has been in the United States, where we rely so heavily on the brick and mortar experience. Now those casinos are coming back online slowly, starting this month and next month. And Las Vegas is a very unique situation because it's a destination market. But what is interesting is that the main effect has been to spur the discussion of online gaming in the United States. And now when we come out of this, I think we're going to move faster to be more like the rest of the world in terms of gaming.
I see, that's interesting. And how has been the response from Betfred to this global crisis? I mean, especially considering the sporting events shutdown, how has it evolved since the outbreak began?
Well, that's a good question. Betfred is really two different businesses. In the UK, where they've been a company for 50 years with brick and mortar betting shops, and more recently an online presence in terms of their mobile sports book, it's had a major effect because they were reliant on their retail betting shops. What they did see was an uptick in their online activity. So customers that were accustomed to going into the retail shops learned how to find their way to the mobile sites in order to place bets. Now, the other issue in the UK and the rest of the world is the lack of sporting content. And Betfred has adapted to that, like the rest of the bookmakers have around the world, by focusing on content like table tennis and Belarusian soccer, or horse racing, which has slowly come back, or eSports, which we'll talk a little bit more about. So there is a group of bettors that will bet on any content that they can consume. And obviously, one of the big questions is, when this is over and sporting events come back, will these people abandon the content that they came to during COVID-19? And in some cases they will, but in some cases it will stick around. So it's really added to the mix.
So you see there's a window for new opportunities amid this crisis. I mean, in terms of innovation and more widening the audience, educating the audience, new audiences in betting.
Absolutely. Now, in the United States, Betfred is a startup. We're a relatively new business here, and we're trying to take advantage of the expansion of sports betting, which is new to the US. And what we're seeing since COVID-19 is that markets that were focused on allowing brick and mortar sportsbook are now starting to talk more and more about mobile sports betting. So that's an advancement of the discussion. Sports will come back here. Every one of the major professional leagues has a different plan for bringing back live sports, mostly without fans to start with. But pretty soon, we're going to have plenty of content for people to consume, whether it be in a brick and mortar sports book or online.
And specifically, the what you mentioned earlier, the eSports betting. I mean, did you could you acquire any learnings from this new player profiles that are entering the eSports betting? Maybe that were interesting before, weren't so interested before.
Right. So
How do you approach to this new momentum?
look, esports isn't new. The focus on it in terms of a sports betting content is new, but we've been following the trends for years in the United States that show that the younger demographic is more likely to spend time watching other people play video games than watching professional sports. This is a fact. And so professional sports teams in the US have already been investing in esports franchises and esports leagues to get close to that demographic. And so there's a synergy between and a crossover between sports and esports. And I think you're going to see the acceleration of betting on esports. Now, there's a few issues. One is making sure that we limit it to the age group that is appropriate to be betting. In the US, that's 21 and older. And that's easy to do with technology. The second issue is the underlying integrity of esports. And what I would argue to you is that we have leagues for other pro sports, but we also have cheating. We know cheating has occurred in other pro sports. With esports, everything is recorded by a server. Everything is measured. Every statistic down to the minute twitch of your finger is measured. And so I would argue to you, it's easier to ensure integrity for esports than almost any sport that exists. And so I do think you'll see a widespread expansion of esports betting.
I see. So in terms of rising technologies, I mean, we can mention, for example, blockchain, AI, machine learning, big data. Is there any room for new uses of these technologies? I mean, this crisis.
I think that I would say that in the U.S., which tends to lag behind places like Europe or South America, for that matter, blockchain and AI is still way off. We're very, very concerned about financial transactions, and I think blockchain is, in some ways, does ensure that financial transactions are secure and investigated so that we know there's not money laundering, all of these things. But I think the technologies that make more sense for the US right now are things like live dealer. So being able to stream content from a brick and mortar casino onto your mobile device so that you can play your favorite slot machine at home. Yeah. This, I think you'll see. I think virtual sports, like what Golden Race, which is a company we work with very closely in the US, virtual sports can happen 24/7 and they don't require live sports. So I think you'll see the proliferation of these types of technologies first in the US, and then eventually there's obviously great use cases for AI. There's particularly on the marketing and how we basically build that relationship with the customer. And even with blockchain, it's inevitable that that will be part of the future in terms of how payment technologies work.
Okay. What about you said it before, that online gaming will start to speed up, specifically in terms of US sports betting legislation, which we had the 2-year anniversary last week after pass repeal. Do you think this situation will, in terms, for example, of states needing more revenue, it will have a significant impact on the landscape?
Absolutely. We've been working for 2 years since pass repeal on behalf of Betfred. We have over 50 professionals in over 35 states working to provide market access. I will tell you there are about 10 states live now. Within a couple of years, there'll be another 20 states. So more than half of the US will be live with some form of sports betting. Those that go live with sports betting will accelerate towards online casino. And I think ultimately everywhere that you see, every state you see casino, you'll see online casino, and you'll see sportsbook and online sportsbook. And I think if it was going to take 5 to 10 years, I think it's closer to 5 years that we'll see this accelerate. So what I've been explaining to technology providers outside of the US, who often have the best technology to import into the US, I'm explaining that now is the time to come to the US, plant your flag with your best of class technology, and try to get a share of the marketplace, because the US marketplace is still the richest, most lucrative marketplace outside of China in the world.
Yeah. And can you mention any differences between for example, at least what we know so far, the legislations that were implemented across the states? Maybe you have some model reference for upcoming legislations.
Yeah. Excellent question. So look, all the states do it differently. Some states like Iowa, for example, require you to establish a sports betting account at the brick and mortar casino for the first 18 months, and then you can establish it remotely through a mobile account afterwards. Some states do away with that notion from the beginning, like Pennsylvania, and they say you can establish a mobile account with any provider who's licensed within that state. That's the case in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. In Nevada, the only way that you can establish a mobile account and load money onto it is at the brick and mortar casino. So, you know, it's the fact that in the United States, they're hanging on so tightly to the brick and mortar casino because that's our tradition. And I think in the future, we're going to be more like Europe, more like Latin America, more like the rest of the world, where we're going to have to look at a customer in the totality of their cycle. Yes, they'll still go to the brick and mortar casino for a meal, for a concert, to play the slot machines, to be with other people. That's not going to go away. But when they're home or working from home or doing their life, they want to be able to access the content and to have that experience. And the technology exists to do it. So I think that's the biggest headline from what will come out of COVID-19 for the USA, which is a movement towards more and more interactive gaming, utilizing the technology that exists around the world.
Yeah, that's very clear. And about, for instance, you have a lot of experience in Las Vegas industry, land-based casinos. For instance, I was thinking about these drive-through sports betting options that were starting to be implemented in some land-based casinos. Do you think this could be a potential option here in the short term? And also, if you have some outlooks you can share about how the exit scenario will be like in land-based casinos, especially in Las Vegas, right?
So a good question. So starting next week, Las Vegas casinos will reopen. I've lived in Vegas almost 30 years, so I've seen a lot here. And one thing I'll tell you is there is no city, and I've been to most cities around the world, although I haven't been to your city, and I hope to, but I've been to most cities around the world. And what I would say is there is no city like Las Vegas. There just isn't. And so, but what Vegas is based on is bringing large groups of people to be close together, to be someone different than they are when they're at home, whether it's to gamble or to be at a nightclub or a day club or a festival. And obviously that experience is going to be limited for the next year or so, or maybe longer. And the idea of having conventions is going to be limited. So Vegas was built to accommodate mass tourism. And so basically what you're going to have is our best potential is to get 30% of where we were. That's the best we could do if you consider there are no conventions, there are no large gatherings, there are no festivals for the foreseeable future. Does that mean that Vegas is done as Vegas? Of course not. Vegas has existed. It was It was a dream of some gangsters who came to the desert and said, we're going to create something out of nothing. And so what will happen is the biggest and best innovations in how to provide entertainment with our new reality will come out of Vegas. I don't know what they all are, but I can assure you, a year from now, we'll be talking about things that are just as fun, just as in the character of Vegas as always, that we haven't even thought about. And that's the beauty of Las Vegas. So it will live, it will take some time, and things will come out of it in terms of the brick and mortar experience that'll be exciting. That's my view.
And what's the role that the institutions, the regulators, the governments are playing in this amid this situation and in terms of
the role of regulators has to be to ensure the safety of the team members that work at casinos and the customers that come. So like in Las Vegas, in Nevada, we certainly know how to take care of customers, how to give them a safe experience. This is what we're experts at. The regulators are excellent at making sure we provide a safe environment. And so you're going to see things, we're going to set standards that exist in no other industry, in the hospitality industry. They're going to make sure that we continue to provide, a fair environment for people to come here and wager and have fun. And none of that's going to change. Also, regulators are going to look at ways to increase ways to deliver our product to customers. So that's where online gaming comes in play. That's where new types of content in the casino, whether it be live dealer or virtual sports or eSports, this is what regulators have to do. They have to continue to innovate and use technology, use automation, use AI, use all of the tools that we have to basically give people the confidence and comfort to come into our environments and to partake in what we do. There's a reason why gambling has been around longer than most industries, back to the beginning of time and before. It's because it inherently is a form of entertainment that is never going away. But we have to become creative in how we deliver that product. And there is no obstacle created by COVID-19 that we cannot overcome. And so in some respects, the way we look at it at SCCG, or whether we're working on behalf of people like Betfred or Golden Race, what we look at it is as an amazing challenge, an exciting challenge as to how we basically change with the industry and bring something to customers that they're looking for. And so we see it as an opportunity at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've covered every topic. I don't know if you want to add anything else in terms of landmark changes that you see in 5 or 10 or 20 years from now from after this.
Look, I would say this. Yeah. Look, I would say this. Most of the calls that I get, obviously I'm dealing with a lot of new technology, people who want to come to the US and do business. And now, because it's more difficult to come to the US, the bridge that we provide is more important. And so we take that role very seriously. But the other thing is I get calls every day from people who have worked for companies, casinos that we've owned, and who are being displaced out of jobs, being furloughed or on unemployment. The industry is going to go through a period of shrinking. It's a natural evolution until the new technologies take root. I'm always open and available for that type of outreach. I love to counsel people on staying involved in the gaming industry and maybe reorienting their skill sets. So what I would say is that if you love this industry, there's a way to contribute to it, even if the industry downsizes initially as we work through things. And that would be a message that I would want to emphasize, because at the end of the day, what the gaming industry about is the people, the people who work on the technology, the people who develop the games, the people who trade the sports, the people who interact with the customers. It's a people business at the end of the day. And we can't lose sight of the fact that we're kind of a community of people in an industry that we care about, and we have to kind of support each other.
I was thinking about the responsible gaming initiatives. I don't know if you want to mention something that Betfred is doing, or or what's your approach to this?
Look, it's responsible gaming is a very big issue in Europe and LATAM. It's also a big issue in the U.S. Obviously, we're in stressful times. People do things in stressful times that they don't do when they're not under such stress, and we have an extra responsibility to make sure to keep an eye out for this type of activity. The good news is, between the programs we implement, the vigilance we have, the use of technology to flag these types of situations, I think we do a good job of policing ourselves. And when we don't, I know regulators do a good job of telling us where we can improve. So I think whether it's in the US or the UK or in Argentina or in South America or LATAM, I think in general, the industry takes those responsibilities very seriously, and we have to raise the level, particularly now when people are under tremendous stress.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Stephen, and I hope I'll see you in another opportunity with Joanette.
Absolutely, I'm coming. Yeah, you're at Buenos Aires is on my list, so I'll be heading your way when it's safe to do so.
Well, we look forward to it. Thank you very much, and stay safe.
Thanks. Okay, be good.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.